Sarah Chen's boots echoed against the crystalline floor of the Galactic Council chamber, each step a sharp reminder that she was the only human in a room filled with beings from across the known universe. The chamber stretched upward into darkness, its walls lined with hovering platforms where representatives from 1,000 worlds watched her approach. Some appeared almost human, others were barely visible clouds of light and energy, and many defied description entirely. The central platform, a disk of softly glowing metal, hummed beneath her feet as she reached its center. Above her, the council president's form shifted between states of matter, a common trait among the ancient species that had first established the council. When it spoke, the words formed directly in her mind. "Engineer Chen of Earth, you understand why you have been summoned." Sarah straightened her maintenance uniform, the simple blue jumpsuit standing out among the swirling robes and energy fields around her. "I do, President. The star engine is failing." A murmur rippled through the chamber, not sound exactly, but a disturbance in the quantum field that the universal translators rendered as concerned whispers. The star engine had powered galactic civilization for longer than Earth had known about fire. Its energy sustained countless worlds, powered faster than light travel, and maintained the delicate balance of artificial stars. Its failure would mean the collapse of everything the Council had built. 1,000 species have attempted repairs, the President continued. Each has failed. Some of our finest quantum mathematicians have spent centuries studying its patterns. Energy beings have attempted to merge with its consciousness. Hive minds have dedicated millions of networked intellects to understanding its functions. All have failed. Sarah removed a small device from her pocket, a simple diagnostic scanner, its screen cracked from years of use. Several representatives recoiled at the sight of such primitive technology. "With respect, President, perhaps that's been the problem. We've been looking at this wrong." The President's form stabilized briefly into something resembling a silvery tree. "Explain." Each species that attempted repairs evolved differently from humans. They developed quantum computing before basic machines, or achieved consciousness in energy fields, or merged into collective intelligences. Humans. She held up her scanner. "We built everything from the ground up. Every human advancement came from physical tools and mechanical understanding." A harsh tone cut through the chamber as a representative from the quantum consciousness collective interrupted. Their form, a complex arrangement of geometric shapes, pulsed with skepticism. "You suggest that your primitive approach could succeed where advanced quantum analysis has failed. The engine operates on principles that transcend physical space." Sarah smiled, remembering her grandmother's workshop back on Earth. "Maybe. But even quantum systems need maintenance. Sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes you just need someone who knows their way around a wrench." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of protests and support, some representatives dismissing her words, while others argued in favor of trying something new. The President raised its branches for silence. "Engineer Chen, you have one standard rotation to examine the engine. If you believe you can repair it, we will provide whatever resources you require. If not, we continue our search. Do you accept these terms?" Sarah gripped her scanner tighter, feeling the weight of countless lives resting on her decision. Her whole career had led to this moment. Every broken machine she'd fixed, every impossible repair she'd managed, every lesson learned from failure and success. "I accept." As she left the chamber, following a guide composed of pure light, Sarah accessed her neural implant to review the engine's basic specifications. The numbers were staggering. A structure larger than Earth's moon, containing enough energy to power 1,000 civilizations. But underneath all that power, she was certain she would find something familiar. After all, even the most advanced technology had to be built by someone. And someone had to understand how to fix it. The guide led her toward a transport platform, its destination set for the engine itself. Sarah took a deep breath, double-checked her tools, and stepped forward. It was time to get to work. The transport beam deposited Sarah in the star engine's primary observation chamber, a vast space filled with holographic displays and swirling data streams. Teams of alien scientists floated between the displays, their forms ranging from crystalline structures to waves of pure mathematics given shape. The engine itself loomed beyond the chamber's transparent walls, its true size defying comprehension. A cluster of light coalesced into Dr. Zix, the project's lead quantum theorist. Engineer Chen, we have prepared the latest analytical data for your review, though I must note, 1,000 species have studied these same readings. Sarah nodded, her eyes drawn to the engine's outer structure. I appreciate that, Doctor. But first, I'd like to see the engine up close. Not through displays. In person. In person. The light cluster flickered in what her translator suggested was confusion. The quantum fields alone would. My suit can handle it. Sarah patted her maintenance uniform. Standard human engineering gear comes with quantum shielding these days. We had to adapt after joining the Galactic community. Dr. Zix's form rippled with reluctance, but eventually guided her to an airlock. The other scientists paused their work to watch as Sarah checked her suit's seals and activated its protective fields. A soft blue glow enveloped her as the quantum shielding engaged. Be advised, Dr. Zix transmitted. The nearest access point is 3 kilometers from our position. We can transport you. I'd rather walk, Sarah interrupted, activating her suit's magnetic boots. You notice different things when you take your time. The space between the observation chamber and the engine's surface was filled with streams of quantum data, visible as rivers of light flowing into and out of the massive structure. Sarah moved carefully through them, her scanner recording everything. But it wasn't the quantum readings that caught her attention. They're barely visible beneath layers of energy fields, tool marks. Sarah magnified her visor's view. The engine's outer casing, a material that had resisted analysis for millennia, bore distinct signs of physical construction. Not quantum assembly or energy weaving, but actual mechanical work. Dr. Zix, she called over the comm. Has anyone ever examined the engine's physical structure? Not its quantum properties, but the actual material it's made from. The casing is merely a containment system. The quantum theorist responded dismissively. The real work happens in the quantum layers. Sarah reached out and placed her gloved hand against the casing. Through her suit's sensors, she felt a vibration. Subtle, rhythmic, and absolutely mechanical. She pulled a precision hammer from her tool belt, earning a startled burst of light from Dr. Zix. What are you doing? Something my grandmother taught me, Sarah replied, gently tapping the casing at specific points. Each tap sent back a different tone, telling a story that no quantum scanner could read. The ancient builders didn't just create a quantum system. They built a machine. Listen. She tapped again, and this time even Dr. Zix's form stilled at the pattern of sounds. Sarah smiled. That's a harmonic resonance. You'd hear the same thing from an old Earth steam engine that needed maintenance. The quantum fields aren't failing. They're responding to mechanical wear in the underlying structure. Impossible. Dr. Zix pulsed. The engine transcends physical limitations. Does it? Sarah gestured at the tool marks. Someone built this. Someone shaped this material, assembled it piece by piece. They may have been advanced beyond our comprehension, but they were engineers first. They understood that even the most sophisticated quantum system needs a physical foundation. She turned to face the observation chamber, where hundreds of scientists had gathered to watch. I know why the repairs have failed. Everyone's been trying to fix the quantum symptoms while ignoring the mechanical cause. We don't need to rebuild the quantum fields. We need to maintain the physical engine that generates them. A long silence followed, broken only by the subtle vibration under her hand. Finally, Dr. Zix spoke. What do you need? Sarah grinned, already calculating the size of the tools she'd need. Get me my team from Earth, and clear some space in that observation chamber. We're about to do things the human way. Within hours, the observation chamber had transformed into something that would have looked more at home in an Earth shipyard than a galactic marvel. Holographic displays gave way to physical diagnostic equipment, and Sarah's team of human engineers moved with practiced efficiency as they set up their workspace. Dr. Zix hovered nearby, their light form flickering with what Sarah had learned to recognize as anxiety. "These tools seem primitive." "Sometimes primitive works best," Sarah replied, calibrating a scanner that her great-grandfather had used in lunar construction. "We brought quantum tools too, but first we need to understand what we're dealing with." The team had mapped out a section of the engine's outer casing, creating a three-dimensional model that floated in the center of their workspace. Marcus, Sarah's chief structural engineer, pointed to a pattern that repeated across the surface. "Look at these seams," he said, highlighting a series of interconnected lines. "They're not random. This entire section is designed to be accessed." Sarah studied the pattern, remembering countless hours spent in her grandmother's workshop. "It's a maintenance panel. A really, really big one." She turned to Dr. Zix. "Has anyone ever tried to open it?" "Open it?" The quantum theorists' form briefly scattered in shock. "The casing's molecular structure has resisted every attempt at manipulation." "That's because everyone tried to quantum tunnel through it or molecularly deconstruct it," Sarah said, running her hand along the model surface. "But look at these marks here. They're guide rails. This isn't meant to be dissolved or phased through. It's meant to be opened." The human team worked through their allocated rest period, setting up massive hydraulic systems and calibrating tools scaled to work with the engine's enormous size. Other species representatives gathered to watch, their discussions a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Sarah stood before the actual maintenance panel, now surrounded by their equipment. Her suit's sensors fed her constant data about the structure, but she focused on what she could see and feel. The subtle vibrations had grown stronger, carrying a message that any experienced engineer would recognize. "The ancients who built this," she said, her voice carrying to the assembled observers, "they weren't just quantum scientists. They were builders, craftspeople. They understood that true reliability comes from mechanical precision." She pressed her gloved hand against a specific point on the panel, feeling the way the vibrations changed. In every civilization's history, there's a moment when they discover that the simplest solution is often the best. Earth's greatest engineering achievements, the pyramids, the Great Walls, the space elevators, they all started with basic mechanical principles. Taking a deep breath, Sarah activated the hydraulic system. Massive arms extended from their equipment, aligning with points that hadn't been touched in millennia. The chamber fell silent as she input the final commands. "Engineering isn't just about advanced technology," she continued. "It's about understanding how things work from the ground up." The ancients knew that. They built quantum systems, yes, but they built them around mechanical cores that could be maintained, repaired, and understood by anyone who spoke the universal language of engineering. With a sound that echoed through the chamber, the panel responded. Centuries of accumulated energy dispersed as massive sections of the casing began to move. The movement was smooth, precise, the work of master engineers who had built their quantum marvel around principles as old as technology itself. As the panel opened, Sarah smiled at the astonished reactions from the gathered species. Inside, beneath layers of quantum technology, lay something beautifully familiar. An intricate mechanical system of gears, pistons, and precision-crafted components that would have looked at home in any human engineering textbook. "Dr. Zix," Sarah said, already reaching for her tools, "I think I know why 1,000 species couldn't fix the engine. They were all looking for complexity, when the answer was elegant simplicity all along." The observation chamber buzzed with excitement as Sarah assembled her demonstration model. She'd requested parts from the engineering team's supplies, constructing a scaled-down replica of the mechanical core they'd discovered. Representatives from dozens of species crowded around, their various forms of perception all focused on her workbench. "The star engine isn't just a quantum device," Sarah explained, adjusting a gear in her model. "It's a hybrid system. The quantum fields are generated by mechanical processes, like how a generator creates electricity through physical movement. Dr. Zix's luminous form wavered skeptically. But the quantum calculations are perfect, Sarah interrupted, tightening a bolt. They're perfect because they're anchored in physical precision. Look at this. She activated her model, and a miniature quantum field sparkled to life above it. The ancients understood something we've forgotten: the connection between the physical and quantum worlds. The model hummed softly, its gears turning in perfect synchronization. Above it, the quantum field pulsed in a pattern that matched the engine's signature. Several energy-based beings moved closer, their forms shifting in what Sarah had learned to recognize as intense interest. Most species evolved past mechanical technology, she continued, adjusting the model's timing. They developed quantum computing before basic machines, or achieved consciousness in energy fields. But humans, we built everything from scratch. Every advancement came from understanding the basics first. She pointed to a wear pattern in the model's main gear. This is what we found in the engine. Natural wear from centuries of operation. The quantum fields aren't failing. They're responding to physical changes in the mechanical core. A crystalline being floated forward, its faceted surface refracting light in complex patterns. But surely quantum manipulation could correct such physical deterioration. Sarah smiled, remembering her first engineering lesson. Think about why you'd use a wrench instead of a quantum field to tighten a bolt. Sometimes the direct approach is best. The ancients knew this. They built an engine that could be maintained with physical tools, not just quantum corrections. She demonstrated by replacing the worn gear in her model. The quantum field above it immediately stabilized, its output increasing by a measurable percentage. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the gathered crowd. This is why 1,000 species couldn't fix it, Sarah explained, her voice carrying the confidence of generations of human engineers. They tried to repair quantum symptoms while ignoring the mechanical cause. It's like trying to fix a broken leg with pain medication. You might mask the problem, but you haven't solved it. Dr. Zix's form pulsed with realization. The quantum fluctuations, they're not random degradation. They're feedback from the mechanical systems. Exactly. Sarah projected a diagram showing the engine's full structure. The ancients built redundancies into every system. The quantum fields automatically compensate for minor mechanical wear. But after thousands of years, the physical core needs maintenance. They designed it this way deliberately. She stood, addressing the entire chamber. Look at the tool marks we found. The access panels. The maintenance corridors. This engine wasn't built by beings who had transcended physical form. It was built by engineers who understood the value of simplicity. They knew that someday, another species of builders would understand their work. The chamber filled with discussion as representatives debated her findings. Sarah turned back to her model, making small adjustments that sent ripples through its quantum field. She knew that somewhere, the ancient builders would appreciate that it took a species who still remembered the feeling of tools in their hands to understand their greatest creation. So, she said, looking up at the assembled beings, who's ready to learn some basic engineering principles? Because fixing this engine is going to take more than quantum theory. It's going to take good old-fashioned human ingenuity. The emergency council session materialized in the observation chamber, representatives appearing as holograms around Sarah and her team. The Quantum Consciousness Collective's spokesperson, a shifting matrix of geometric patterns, moved to the center of the gathering. This proposal is dangerous. The spokesperson's thoughts resonated directly in their minds. Physical manipulation of the engine could destabilize quantum fields across 12 galaxies. We cannot risk billions of lives on primitive mechanical solutions. Sarah stood her ground, tool belt still strapped around her waist. With respect, that's exactly why the engine is failing. Everyone's so focused on quantum risks that they've ignored the mechanical foundation those quantum fields are built on. She gestured to her demonstration model, still running perfectly after 3 days of continuous operation. Look at the data. Every time we adjust the mechanical components, the quantum fields naturally stabilize. The engine was designed this way. A representative of the silicon mines, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, joined the debate. Our simulations suggest a 17% chance of catastrophic failure if the mechanical core is altered. The risk is unacceptable. Your simulations are based on quantum mathematics, Sarah countered, pulling up historical data on her tablet. But let me show you something from Earth's history. The chamber's holographic systems projected images from humanity's engineering past. The first steam engines, the Brooklyn Bridge, the lunar elevators. Every one of these projects was called impossible. Every one had experts saying the risk was too high. But they all succeeded because engineers understood something fundamental about machines. She walked through the projection, pointing out details. These bridges have stood for centuries because their builders understood that maintaining physical integrity was more important than theoretical perfection. The lunar elevators work because we respect the physical forces involved instead of trying to circumvent them. Marcus stepped forward, adding his expertise. We analyzed the engine's mechanical core. The wear patterns match exactly what we'd expect from standard mechanical stress. This isn't theoretical, it's basic engineering. The Quantum Collective's spokesperson pulsed with skepticism. Your species has barely mastered interstellar travel. How can you claim to understand technology built by the ancients? Sarah smiled, remembering her grandmother's words about the universality of good engineering. Because some principles never change. A gear is a gear, whether it's in a pocket watch or a star engine. The ancients knew this, that's why they built maintenance access into the design. She brought up new scans of the engine's interior. Look at these tool marks, these access panels. They're not quantum constructs. They're physical components meant to be serviced. The ancients left us an instruction manual written in the universal language of engineering. Dr. Zix, who had been quietly observing, suddenly illuminated with understanding. The redundancy patterns, they're not quantum failsafes. They're mechanical backup systems. Exactly, Sarah confirmed. The quantum fields automatically compensate for mechanical wear, but they can only do so much. The engine needs physical maintenance, just like any machine. The ancients knew this would happen. They designed it to be serviced. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Sarah took a deep breath before delivering her final argument. We're not suggesting anything radical. We're proposing to do exactly what the engine's builders intended, maintain their work with the same care and respect they put into creating it. She looked around the chamber, meeting the various forms of perception focused on her. I know it seems risky to trust something this important to physical tools and human hands, but sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. The ancients understood this. Now it's our turn. The council representatives began their deliberations, their forms shifting and intermingling as they shared thoughts and concerns. Sarah stood firmly beside her model, listening to its steady hum. She knew they would see the truth because good engineering transcended species and time. It was simply a matter of trust. Trust in tools, trust in training, and trust in the wisdom of builders across the ages. Dawn broke over the artificial horizon of the star engine's surface as Sarah's team made their final preparations. Their specialized work suits gleamed in the starlight, each one customized with the tools needed for their unprecedented task. The observation chamber had transformed into a command center, with holographic displays monitoring every aspect of the operation. Team check. Sarah called through the comm system, her voice steady despite the weight of trillions of lives depending on their success. Sound off. Mechanical systems ready, Marcus reported, his suit bristling with precision tools scaled for working with the engine's massive components. Power distribution stable, Lynn confirmed from her station, surrounded by arrays of quantum field monitors. Support systems green, Rodriguez added, managing the complex network of safety equipment protecting the team. Dr. Zix hovered nearby, their luminous form dimmed to avoid interfering with the sensitive equipment. The Council has evacuated all non-essential personnel from this sector. You have exactly 6 hours before the engine's current compensation cycle ends. Sarah nodded, performing one last check of her suit's systems. Remember, everyone, this is just like the simulations we ran. The only difference is the scale. She smiled behind her visor. And the fact that we're about to repair the most important machine in the galaxy. The team moved out in perfect formation, their magnetic boots carrying them across the engine's surface toward the opened maintenance panel. Each step was precisely calculated. At this scale, even a small misstep could have devastating consequences. Beginning primary sequence, Sarah announced as they reached their positions. Above them, the quantum fields shimmered like auroras, responding to their presence. Marcus, start the stabilization procedure. Marcus deployed massive bracing structures that anchored into predetermined points around the maintenance area. Each brace extended with surgical precision, designed to support the engine's mechanical systems during the repair. Lynn, how are the quantum fields looking? Fluctuating within predicted parameters, Lynn replied, her hands dancing over portable control interfaces. The Ancient's compensators are responding exactly as your model suggested. They're actually helping us, adjusting to maintain stability as we work. Sarah smiled at this confirmation of her theory. The engine wasn't fighting their repairs, it was designed to accommodate them. She took a deep breath and gave the next command. Rodriguez, deploy the primary tool array. Enormous mechanical arms unfolded from their equipment, each one a masterpiece of human engineering scaled up to work with the engine's components. The tools looked almost primitive compared to the quantum technology surrounding them, but Sarah knew they were exactly what the engine's builders had intended. Beginning core maintenance sequence, she announced, her voice carrying to the observation chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy watched with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Remember, everyone, slow and steady. We're not just fixing a machine. We're proving that the Ancients' faith in future engineers wasn't misplaced. The repair operation became a dance of precision and patience. Each movement was choreographed through countless simulations, but now they were performing it for real. Sarah's team worked in perfect synchronization, their tools engaging with systems that hadn't been touched for millennia. As they worked, Sarah noticed something remarkable. The quantum fields weren't just tolerating their presence, they were responding to their repairs, shifting and flowing in patterns that complemented their work. It was as if the engine itself recognized what they were doing. Look at this, she breathed, watching the interplay between their mechanical repairs and the quantum systems. The Ancients built it to work with us, not against us. They understood that true innovation isn't about abandoning the basics, it's about building upon them. High above, the first signs of the engine's renewal began to show. The quantum fields grew stronger, their patterns more coherent. Sarah allowed herself a moment of pride before refocusing on their task. They were only beginning, but already they had proven something profound about the relationship between the physical and quantum worlds, and about the wisdom of those who had come before. 4 hours into the repair operation, Sarah's scanner picked up an anomaly. Her team had just finished replacing a major gear assembly when the pattern caught her eye. A series of precise marks, etched into the newly exposed surface beneath. Hold position, everyone, she called through the comm. I'm seeing something interesting here. Lynn, can you verify these readings? Lynn adjusted her sensors, focusing on the area Sarah indicated. Getting it now. That's not wear damage. Those marks are deliberate. Sarah magnified her visor's view, studying the intricate patterns. They weren't random scratches or maintenance records. They were diagrams, carefully preserved in the engine's core material. As she traced them with her scanner, the patterns began to make sense. Dr. Zix, she transmitted to the observation chamber. Are you seeing this? The quantum theorist's luminous form pulsed with excitement. Remarkable. But these aren't quantum formulas. They appear to be engineering diagrams. Sarah finished, her voice filled with wonder. The Ancients left us their maintenance manual, written in the universal language of mechanical engineering. The patterns showed cross-sections of the engine's core systems, annotated with symbols that any engineer would recognize, stress points, maintenance intervals, optimal tolerances. But there was something more, something that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. "Look at these markings here," she directed her team. "They're not just instructions. They're telling a story." Marcus moved closer, his suit's lights illuminating more of the exposed surface. "These symbols, they're showing different species, aren't they?" Sarah nodded, her scanner recording everything. The ancients knew they wouldn't be around forever. They left these instructions for whoever would come next, specifically for species that understood physical engineering. The diagrams revealed more than just maintenance procedures. They showed the evolution of the engine's design, how the ancients had deliberately chosen to build a hybrid system that combined quantum power with mechanical precision. They had created something that could be understood and maintained by any civilization that had developed through physical engineering. That's why 1,000 species couldn't fix it, Sarah realized, the truth finally clicking into place. The engine wasn't waiting for the most advanced civilization. It was waiting for one that still remembered its engineering roots. Dr. Zix's voice carried a note of humility. "We thought we had evolved past the need for physical maintenance. We forgot that even quantum systems need a foundation." Sarah continued studying the diagrams, finding more detailed instructions for the repairs they were already performing. The ancients had predicted exactly how the engine would wear over time, and they had prepared accordingly. "Look at these maintenance cycles," she pointed out. "They're not based on quantum fluctuations, they're based on mechanical wear patterns." The ancients knew that someday, the engine would need engineers who understood both worlds. Rodriguez whistled softly through the comm. "They built it this way on purpose. They could have made it purely quantum, but they chose to make it serviceable. Because they were engineers first," Sarah said, her voice full of respect for the ancient builders. "They understood something that too many species have forgotten: the value of simplicity, of building things to last and be repaired." The diagrams continued deeper into the engine's structure, revealing more about its design philosophy. The ancients had created a masterpiece of engineering that bridged the gap between physical and quantum mechanics, leaving instructions that could be understood by any species that had followed a similar path of technological development. "They were like us," Sarah transmitted to the watching council. "They built their quantum technology on a foundation of physical engineering. They knew that true advancement doesn't mean abandoning your roots. It means building upon them." She turned back to her team, new determination in her voice. "The ancients left us these instructions for a reason. Let's show them their trust in future engineers wasn't misplaced. Back to work, everyone. We've got a star engine to repair." The final component slid into place with a resonant hum that echoed through the engine's vast structure. Sarah checked her readings one last time, then looked at her team, their work suits bearing the marks of 6 intense hours of precision engineering. "All systems aligned," Lynn reported, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. "Quantum field coherence at 98% and rising. Mechanical systems showing green across all indicators," Marcus added, already running detailed diagnostics. "The wear patterns are resolving exactly as predicted." Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that trillions of beings across the galaxy were waiting for her next words. "Dr. Zix, please inform the Council that we're ready for power restoration. Beginning startup sequence in 3, 2, 1. She engaged the restored mechanical core, and the star engine responded. The quantum fields, which had been fluctuating for centuries, suddenly snapped into perfect alignment. Waves of energy rippled outward as ancient systems returned to their optimal states. By the first stars, Dr. Zix's luminous form pulsed with astonishment. "Power output is exceeding all historical records. The engine isn't just repaired, it's running better than our oldest data indicated." Sarah smiled, watching the quantum fields dance around them. "Because it's finally running the way it was designed to. The mechanical foundation is properly maintained, so the quantum systems can operate at full capacity." The observation chamber erupted in celebration as representatives from thousands of worlds received confirmation of the engine's restoration. But Sarah's attention was drawn to something else, a new pattern emerging in the quantum fields. "Look," she pointed, her voice filled with wonder. "The fields aren't just stabilizing. They're teaching." The quantum displays showed complex patterns forming, information flowing through the restored systems. The ancient builders had left more than just maintenance instructions. They had embedded a complete engineering curriculum in the engine's quantum matrix, accessible only when the mechanical systems were properly aligned. "It's a gift," Dr. Zix realized, their form shifting with excitement. The ancients wanted to ensure that future generations wouldn't lose the connection between quantum and physical engineering. The council president's hologram appeared in the chamber, their form more stable than Sarah had ever seen it. "Engineer Chen, humanity has done more than repair the star engine. You have restored a fundamental truth that many of us had forgotten." Sarah removed her helmet, feeling the gentle vibration of the perfectly tuned engine through her boots. "The truth that progress isn't about abandoning our foundations. It's about building upon them." "The Galactic Council has reached an unanimous decision," the president announced. "We are establishing the Interstellar Engineering Academy, with humanity as its primary instructors. The star engine will serve not only as a power source, but as a teaching center, where species from across the galaxy can relearn the value of physical engineering." 3 months later, Sarah stood before the Academy's first class. The chamber that had once held emergency council sessions now filled with students from 1,000 worlds. Some floated as pure energy, others shifted between states of matter, but all watched intently as she held up a simple wrench. "Welcome to Basic Engineering Principles," she began, seeing the same curiosity in their various forms of perception that she had felt in her grandmother's workshop. "Today, we're going to learn why the most advanced civilization in history chose to build their greatest creation around mechanical principles that anyone can understand." She gestured to the star engine humming contentedly behind her, its quantum fields flowing in perfect harmony with its mechanical core. They knew what we're about to learn, that true innovation means respecting the foundations of engineering, no matter how far technology advances. In the engine's restored quantum display, Sarah saw the ancient builders' final message playing out. They had created something miraculous, not to show off their advancement, but to remind future generations that the path to the stars began with the simple wisdom of tools in skilled hands. And as she began her lesson, Sarah knew they would be proud to see their legacy living on in engineers of all species, learning together in the shadow of their greatest creation.